Hi, everybody. This is Tommy Lasorda. Listen to the Sandlot, the best thing that could happen to you.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Are you crying?
It's a part of our past, Ray.
There's no crying.
It reminds us of all that once was good.
There's no crying in baseball.
Just a bit outside.
Baseball will be very, very good to me.
It's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball.
Personally, I think we got hosed on that.
The Sandlot Radio Network is on the air. And now, starting pitcher for the Sandlot, former pro player and Major League scout, Ted Howard.
This is National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
It's Derek Jeter, New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome to the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. The Sandlot Radio Network Downunder podcast can be heard on Sirius XM MLB Network podcast platform, also on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, Apple Music, and Simplecast. The Sandlot is presented by Terramar Collective and sponsored by Grit Sports Collective, Guzman y Gomez, and Freestyle Pools Sydney. The Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast comes to you from the suburbs of Sydney, Australia, Sylvania, New South Wales. Last week, Sandlot featured a legend in the Sutherland Shire baseball community. On the Central Coast and now in Queensland, we had Mark Dollymore. This week on the Sandlot, we have our resident baseball fanatic and producer, Nick Wright, for highlights from the World Series between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers through the first 5 very exciting games, and now with the Dodgers back against the wall, heading back to Toronto. We also have 3 members of the Cronulla Sutherland Junior Baseball Association, the CSJBA, the Board of Directors President Mike Turner, and co-vice presidents Nathan Fuzz and Ryan Castillo. And an interview with our Sandlot Champion Character of the Week, sponsored by Guzman y Gomez. From the Como Comets Little League Division I team, coached by Pete Munro and Mike Turner, we have Finn Stevens. We're going to start you off with some highlights from the World Series. So, Nick, during our last show, we did a rundown on going into the World Series, what was going to happen, what we felt was going to be the outcome. And, man, it's a little different than what both of us thought, because now, after 5 games, the Dodgers are down 3-2. And game 1, the Blue Jays just came out swinging and pounded the Dodgers 11-4 in Toronto. But then the Dodgers came back the next night and beat them 5-1. And then we had the thrilling 18-inning, 6-5 win by the Dodgers, where Freddie walked it off in Freddie fashion, like he does in many World Series games. So then we go back and another really good game by the Blue Jays, where they win 6-2. And it was after Ohtani had gone 4 for 4 with 5 walks. He's on base 9 times. The game goes till 1:30 in the morning, and then they play the next day, and he's starting pitcher. I don't think he had his best stuff. They lose 6-2. And then Blue Jays come out 6-1. And right out the gate, 2 home runs on 3 pitches. Makes you wonder if they were sitting on stuff. And the Rogers Center, there's a lot of places that you could be calling in a pitch that's being thrown by the pitcher. You get the signal from the catcher from your bedroom, and you send it to somebody. I don't know. That's crazy talk, but it seemed like they were sitting on stuff.
Yeah, Tad, going into the series, if you told me right now that the Blue Jays would be up, I would have laughed in your face. I thought this thing was going to be a sweep, and how wrong I and many were, especially Dodgers fans. Tad, game 1, Toronto, like you said, just laid it on them, 11-4. They got 14 hits. Snell got roughed up just a little bit, but the Blue Jays just kept on hitting that Dodgers bullpen. Yeah, Dodgers came back game 2, tied it up in Toronto, 5-1. Yamamoto has just been an insane monster in this postseason. But then, Tad, is this maybe one of the best games played in MLB history? It depends if you're an East Coaster, possibly, because a lot of people, like myself, really stayed up late for that one. But, Tad, 15 hits for the Blue Jays, 16 hits for the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani, just absolutely ridiculous. Like you just said, 9 times on base. That is an MLB record, which I don't think we'll ever see again based on the circumstances. I just think that must have took out, even though the Dodgers won that game, I think it took out so much of them, because the next day, Ohtani started off pretty good, but then gave up a couple runs. They pulled them. Dodgers bullpen reared its ugly head, and the Blue Jays ended up getting 11 hits that game, won 6-2. And the next night in LA, everyone thought, all right, they're going to bounce back after that. Tad Snell, first 3 pitches, 2 home runs by Springer and Vladimir Guerrero. Tad, unbelievable how roughed up he got. And you know what bugs me too? Snell had a comment earlier after that game and pretty much said, I'm not verbatim, but he said that, sometimes guys get lucky. I don't think they got to me at all. Dodgers fans are up in arms. I think it's one of the dumbest quotes in history. Tad, what do you think so far about this series? I mean, are you surprised that Toronto is up right now?
They surprised everyone. I had a feeling that they had some momentum and the Dodgers were sitting around there for a while waiting to play, and that never is good. And they showed it with the 11-4 first game victory. And I'll tell you what, they're a team that doesn't strike out a lot. They go deep in counts. They have good at-bats. And because of it, they'll work a starting pitcher. They'll get to a bullpen. And it's proven that the Dodgers, we don't want to get into the bullpen right now, it seems like. If Yamamoto can go complete games, that's what we're looking for because he's had 2 and they were gems. But again, having a game like Shohei had where he got on base 9 times, 4 hits, scored runs, was out there on the bases for a long time, and then he's going to pitch the next day and the game went 18 innings. One thing I can say, how cool is that for the people that paid thousands of dollars for those tickets? They got 2 games out of it instead of just 1.
And here's the thing that kind of upsets me and a lot of MLB fans. You see that thing, even though, it's getting late, 16th, 17th inning, there's a lot of bald seats behind that home plate. Like, where are you guys going? This is one of the most historic games in MLB history, being it's the World Series. So that was really frustrating to see because I would have killed to be behind that home plate or even in that stadium. But, Tad, since Yamamoto had 2 insane gems, now he goes to Toronto, World Series on the line. I mean, if he goes and pitches another gem in that kind of pressure situation in Toronto like that, I mean, I just can't wait to see how he holds up. Do you think Yamamoto is going to spin another gem?
I hope so. And it's absolutely a necessity for the Dodgers at this point because they haven't been scoring a lot of runs, and he has been shutting everyone down and going complete game. If he can do it again against Toronto, that would be an amazing feat. I just hope he gets some run support so that if he is a guy that is human for a change and gives up 2 or 3 runs, that the Dodgers can come out swinging and just give him some run support. As long as he goes deep into the game and keeps it close, the Dodgers, they absolutely have to win or it's all over. Red Rover, and we're going to be crowning a champion in Canada.
And I want to ask you something because obviously I think we both think Ohtani is really maybe the best player of all time. But I want to just go to a world where maybe he doesn't exist because I think people aren't talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. enough. Because Ted, he is hitting 364 in the playoff. In 364 in the World Series, over 400 in the playoffs. And I feel like he's just not getting the love that he's getting. I don't know if you agree with that, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has just been insane.
He's been unreal, and you're right. And because he's been in Toronto, nobody saw him until the playoffs in the World Series and really the World Series. Most people had no idea how good of a player this guy is. But I'll tell you what, he's one of the toughest outs in the game, and you do not want to make a mistake because he will hit it very hard.
Toronto has Gosman pitching for Game 6. And, I hope that the Dodgers push this thing to 7. I just don't know if they're going to. I mean, I can't believe that I'm saying this, that the Dodgers might lose this thing in 6 games. I don't think anyone could have seen this coming.
Well, like I said, we need Yamamoto to shut him down. Kevin Gosman's a tough pitcher, too. And ironically, he went to school and played with both of my kids. He's in the middle of the 2. So both of my kids played with Gosman in Colorado. And he was a hard thrower, but you never thought he was going to be the kind of guy he's become. And for Colorado people, it'd be really cool to see him win a World Series.
So, Tad, if you had to do an official prediction, I know we both had the Dodgers winning the World Series before the playoffs even started. Do you think they're going to pull this out, take them to Game 7 and take this thing, or do you think this is Toronto's year?
Baseball's a funny game. Anything can happen. I'm hoping it goes 7, and then that's just the beauty of it, that it's 7-game decider, winner takes all. That's what I'm hoping for. And if it goes 7, I'm just going to be like, whoever wins it, and they're deserving of it because Toronto's young, they're hungry, they're very well balanced and very well managed. So it's hard to say what's going to happen over the next 2 days, but for Dodgers fans, they need a gem again out of Yamamoto.
Oh man, if he delivers 3 in a row and the Dodgers end up winning the World Series, he's got to be in Dodger lore of the likes of some of the great pitchers in their time. But man, this has been such a surprising series, entertaining series. Do you think that Ohtani's performance getting on base 9 times. Is that one of the best performances? Is that one of the best games in MLB history, considering it's a World Series game and on top of Ohtani's performance?
When you add the two of them together, yeah, for sure. But when you think about getting on base 9 times in any game, it's insane. They intentionally walked him 4 times, and that's because he was doing so much damage. And don't be surprised if they come out walking him again. So, especially with him, he might be in relief tonight too. So you never know. Thanks again to our resident baseball fanatic and producer, Nick Wright, for the rundown on the Dodgers and Blue Jays' first 5 games in the World Series. What a showdown we have going on.
G'day, I'm Jake Burns, professional player for the Brisbane Bandits, and I listen to the Sandlot.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective. Imagine your family enjoying a stunning new pool without the stress or nightmare stories you've heard about bad builders. At Freestyle Pool Sydney, every project is expertly managed from start to finish by brothers Ben and Rob Hitchcock, a family business of 33 years. They return your calls, quote the whole job up front, and plan for the unexpected so there's no hidden costs or unfinished work. Their skilled tradies are experts in their field, delivering a premium finish your family will be proud of. Call Freestyle Pool Sydney today on 9875-1122. Freestyle Pools, family values, exceptional craftsmanship.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG. Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Mundy, former Major League player, former All-Star, and now broadcaster with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're tuned in exactly where you need to be. It's Sandlot, and it's baseball.
Talking baseball, the man and Bobby fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque.
Especially Shohei, Mookie, and the Judge. We're with our Guzman E. Gomez champion character of the week on the Sandlot Radio Network podcast, Down Under, with Finn Stevens. He is our Sandlot champion character of the week, and the champ of the week is a guy that's shows that he can be coachable. He honors the family name every time he goes out there, whether it's at school or at home or with his teammates. He honors that Stevens family name. He has a positive mental attitude. He tends to be a mentor for others. He perseveres through the tough times, and he's a great sportsman. That's the Sandlot champ and Guzman E. Gomez champion character of the week. Finn Stevens, thanks for being a guest with us on the Sandlot.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Finn. Now, this is the third year I've had a chance to see you. Your first year was Zuka, second year was Zuka. Now you're playing Little League. You're a left-hander, a lefty-lefty, throws left, hits left. Very rare breed here in Australia. So you have some advantages that you don't even know about yet, buddy. But I've got to see you develop over the last 3 years under the mentorship and tutelage of Pete Monroe over there at the Como Comets. Now, after 5 years, you guys did T-ball. You've done Zuka. Now you're playing Little League where you got to face pitchers, and you're a left-handed pitcher yourself. And I've got to see you get better over the last 3 years. And I see a lot of passion for the game of baseball in young Finn Stevens. So, Finn, let's talk about who your favorite baseball team is in America.
My favorite baseball team is LA Dodgers because they always have the passion in and they always have the spirit, even when they're losing. They always have a lot of pace. And I started going for LA Dodgers because when I saw Shohei Ohtani was getting better and better, I started to research. Before I went for the LA Dodgers, I went for the Cubs. and because of my family that lives in Chicago. And for the LA Dodgers, I like the coach. He's so like chill, even when they're getting smashed.
Dave Roberts.
And then they always got the spirit in them, even the coach when they like beaten and all of that. And always like even when they're coming back, they always stay chill and they're always humble, even when they're losing or winning.
That's a good point. You know, they have a clubhouse that stays together no matter when the tough gets going, the going gets tough. And the other night, the Dodgers went 18 innings and Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off. But today, they didn't have as much luck. And so now this series is tied 2-2. And anything can happen when it's tied 2-2. There's only one more game at Dodger Stadium. Then they got to go back to Toronto. So it's a tough road right now. And the Dodgers are going to have to step it up if they want to go back-to-back as world champs.
Yep.
So who are the other players on that team that you like? You mentioned Shohei Ohtani, who, man, he's done unbelievable. He got on base 9 times in that game. 4 hits, 5 walks. And then he pitched today after the night, the game before with the 3 home run. He has just been unbelievable throughout the whole playoffs and the World Series. Who else you like on the Dodgers?
Mookie Betts.
Well, Mookie's another one that's really good, isn't he?
Yep. He's always have the compassion and even he's so like tiny like me, but he plays big.
You're not tiny. You got a big heart, and that's all that matters in this game. And you're going to grow, and you're a left-hander that hits left and throws left, and you're developing skills. So you got a long ways to go in this game, buddy. And I'm proud of you for what you've done. And we talked about keeping that positive mental attitude, even if we make an out, because outs are just part of the game, right?
Yep. 100%.
Now, I've had a chance to spend a little time with you in baseball camps of different varieties over the last couple of years. What are some of the things that you learned in camp?
I learned about how to pitch and feel the ball properly, and always playing big even when you're losing. You teach me, and you teach you break it down into basic stuff. You always do, and I always have so much fun.
That's what it's all about, because when we get better, we have more fun. Just like in anything else, if we're not good at it, it's not that fun. But baseball's a skill sport, so we got to get the skills so we can have fun playing it. And you're on your way, buddy. So I just want to thank you again for taking the time right after school to come on as a guest on the Sandlot Radio Network podcast Down Under. And you're our Sandlot Champ of the Week, sponsored by Guzman y Gomez. And I'm going to see you in about an hour. And when I do, I've got something for you. And it's a gift card for Guzman y Gomez. GYG, the best Mexican around. And you're going to go have some on me and Guzman y Gomez.
Yep, can't wait. See you then.
All right, buddy. I'll see you in a little while.
Yep, see ya.
Third ever Sandlot Down Under podcast in Sylvania Waters, New South Wales, Australia, features actually 3 guys from the CSJBA. And they're 2 vice presidents and a president. The first one is young Nathan Fuzz. Fuzzy, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Thanks for having me, mate.
So, Fuzzy, how in the heck did a guy from Australia that grew up in the southern part of Sydney, right? More down near Dapto area? Western Sydney. How does that guy end up playing baseball?
Got involved in the game through Dad. He obviously played baseball and cricket. Back then, baseball was predominantly a winter sport. And, got involved through Dad, through T-ball at the age of 5 or 6.
And what was it that you loved about it to where you're still involved in it today, all these years later?
Just the memories and being able to give back to a sport that I love and grew up with. And just, seeing the development of kids in the sport is something that I really enjoy and love to see and be part of.
And you've seen a lot of ups and downs in this sport throughout the history of your lifetime. Baseball has had ups and downs. And I always like to say that Australia's had certain catalysts that have lifted the sport. And then for some reason, it seems like cricket has a comeback and then the sport kind of dies out. And the people that were really charging it lost interest. And now a whole new group of people have to come in and recharge it. But there has been catalysts throughout my time here in Australia. And the ABL back in the day was the first one that really kind of gave kids a chance to see baseball in a stadium with some of the better players in all of Australia and then some imports as well. And it gave kids hope that maybe one day they could do something like that.
Yeah, that's right. The profile of the sport always competes against the like of soccer and cricket, especially in the summer sport being cricket. Yeah, but I think there's a lot of people involved in coming back into the sport now. Obviously, with the profiles of Travis Bazzana, there's a lot more pathway to the US now, and kids can see that. Obviously, with social media and then in the news and everything else, they can see there's a clear pathway. And I think that excites a lot of people and gets a lot of young kids involved in the sport.
You mentioned Travis Bazzana. He was definitely a catalyst because when an Aussie goes number one in the Major League Baseball draft and gets an $8 million signing bonus, that's kind of gives Aussies the idea that maybe that's a sport that I should try to at least look at. I'm an athlete. And if it's a sport that has, and I have bat and ball, hand and eye coordination skills, maybe I should give this some thought. Glenn Williams was also a catalyst way back in the day because when Glenn was taken as the highest paid ever international non-drafted player, he got $980,000 to sign by the Atlanta Braves. That brought every major league club to Australia to try to see who's going to be the next Glenn Williams. So he was definitely a catalyst in that he brought the scouts to Australia.
Yeah, that's right. And being able to see those junior guys growing up in Sydney, with another 2,000-3,000 kids currently playing in Sydney, it gives them hope, and they see if they can do it, why can't I do it? And I think everyone's heard Travis Bazzana speak, grew up in Western Sydney, very humble guy, and just like anything, you work hard, you train hard, you can achieve anything in the sport.
Another catalyst that I've noticed is Little League Baseball. The fact that Little League finally broke into Australia and gave kids a chance to go and play on the international stage. And the first time a Cronulla team was able to do that, make it to the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and be in front of millions of people on TV and 20, 30,000 people live, it really... Their mates that saw that on TV, they started playing baseball because they're like, wow, what a cool thing. They got a chance to go do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the publicity we received from that, there's been a few Cronulla teams now been fortunate enough to make it to Williamsport. And again, it just lifts the profile of the sport. It's great coverage and it gets a lot of kids excited that they can see that pathway and play on the international stage.
Sad thing about that, in 1993, when I first came to Cronulla, I had met with the head of Little League in Williamsport, and they were very interested in getting Australian baseball involved in Little League. This is in 1993. And they had a charter that they sent me here with, and I went and met with the New South Wales Baseball League. Vince Askey was the guy's name who was the junior development officer at that time. He was an American, and he was all for it. But the likes of some of the people running New South Wales baseball at the time didn't like Little League format. It wasn't the same rules. It was a different way of playing baseball, and that they had their own rules and their own pitch counts and their own ways of doing it. So they did not want Little League in this country. So it took another 20 years, I believe. And all those two generations of kids never were given that opportunity based on 4 or 5 people's decision that they thought they knew better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things that I see from Little League coming to the country is just the structure around the baseball, how to play the game, participation, pitching restrictions, the whole lot that goes with it. It's just definitely given a lot more structure to junior baseball in the country.
And also that Little League is really geared around being a good sportsman. They really focus on some of the most important parts of being a teammate, being an opponent. Winning and losing with grace. Those are all things that are really expressed in Little League and their charters. And throughout baseball, up until that point, that never was really a focus here in Australia. And I think it really has helped people understand that we play the game, and when we win with grace. And when we lose with grace. And Little League really focuses on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely brings sportsmanship into the discussion. I've been fortunate enough now to go through a few nationals tournaments, and lucky enough last year to go to Michigan, the World Junior League World Series. And it just gives your kids the opportunity, especially in Australia, to meet other kids from other states and just become friends and lifelong friends from being able to play that representative baseball at such a young age.
And not only that, but then they get to go and compete against kids that are really on a higher level. You find it out pretty quickly when you get to those tournaments. Yeah, we're the best in Australia, but we're still a little bit behind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing to see the level once you get to a World Series overseas. I've always said skill-wise, we match it with anyone. But you look at how much baseball those other kids play in America and other countries, and their speed and agility and strength and conditioning is something that they're ahead of us.
Now, Fuzzy, me and you met each other as opponents, and it was back in the day when the New South Wales Baseball League was very competitive, and I would have to say a pretty tough league. There was some rivalries that created tension. And that tension sometimes exploded. And we played for MacArthur, I played for Cronulla, and we had a couple of times where things got a little heated and a brawl broke out, or a blue, as they say here, a Donnybrook. And so you were on the other end of that. But at some point you realized that what we had going on in Cronulla was a really cool style of playing the game and developing from the juniors to the seniors and carrying juniors into your senior program. We were probably the best at that point. And some of the kids that came through, like Mr. Castillo, who's sitting right here in front of us now, they were the types of kids that had enough exposure to good baseball at a young age that they were going to be good when they became adults. That's what the club needed, for the young kids to come through. And once they did, we kicked everybody's butt.
Yeah, absolutely. MacArthur was great. It was a great upbringing for me. I had some great mentors out there in Gary Mitchell and Ross Morrison, and then obviously had the opportunity to come to Cronulla, and you could really see the structure of the club and the association between the juniors and the seniors. There was that pathway there. Obviously, mate, you had a big part on that, on structuring that and bringing that professional aspect to the game in Cronulla and Sydney.
At one point, I know that we were the envy of other clubs around the nation, not just in New South Wales, because I had Greg Jelk was a really good friend of mine. God rest his soul, because when he passed, it was a big shock for me. He came over and spent a week with me, and he threw BP to us, and he hit fungos, and he got to see the structure of our setup there. And he said, I've been to a lot of states, because he was one of those guys that was a hired gun. So he would go from Queensland to Melbourne to Perth, and Perth ended up being his home. But when he came here and saw what the setup that we had, he said, nobody has this. You guys have a really professional organization running here, and you're really giving guys a chance to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said before, the Cronulla Association was probably the first association to have that pathways and that structure in place. And it created, the state league back then was a very strong competition, as you said before. Yeah, but it gave guys or younger kids a clear pathway, and they could see what it was all about, that professional side to the sport.
He's a vice president of the Cronulla Sutherland Junior Baseball Association. He's got a young player in the association named Harry. And Harry, I got to tell you, he's one of those kids that really loves the game. He follows it on the, Major League Baseball level. He gets involved in some kind of baseball training every single day. And he's a kid that you have created a pathway for him. And now it's just a matter of strength and growth to where this kid's going to be a guy that has a chance to go and play college like so many Aussies are starting to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to spend time with Harry, and we spend every day together because, as you said, he does train every day. And that's his goal. He'd like to go to college one day, but he's working hard. But he can see, again, the likes of Travis Pizzana and all those other guys who are playing college currently. There's a clear pathway there, and it's something to strive and achieve to.
Let's talk quickly about your role with Cronulla Sutherland Junior Baseball Association as a vice president, you and Ryan, and then we have Mike as a president. You guys, the three of you were the main reason that I'm here today. And it had a lot to do with the fact that you guys got to witness the program when it happened before. And I had an opportunity to come back and try to do it again. And you guys basically got behind me to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And my role in the association, as you said, is vice president, but appointed as head coach. And that's one thing we wanted to reinvest in the sport, not just for the elite levels, but the very bottom with the development of younger kids coming through. And that's one reason that we, really wanted you here to run that and instill into these guys that this is how you do things right, and just getting that structure around the sport again. And being able to spend time with every club, it's been great. The feedback's been very positive, and it's very exciting for junior sport, junior baseball in the association.
Well, for me, I've been doing this a really long time, and my goal when I get with a group of kids is that every one of them gets a little better at everything that I show them. And if they're paying attention, if they watch the demos, they listen, we give them an opportunity to try it. I've seen it work for many, many years, and all I need is an opportunity to spend time with kids. These little bursts of spending time with them is one thing, an hour and a half, 45 minutes, an hour. I'm getting done what I can get done. But the way we really develop these kids is to get them into the 5-day camp program where every day they go through the running, throwing, fielding, hitting, and power hitting. By the end of the week, they're better at all 5 of those things. And if you're better at those 5 things, you're now having fun playing the game. And I've seen it with so many of the kids that are in their second and third round of doing the camps. Because I had some kids that couldn't catch and throw, and they couldn't slide, and they didn't have really good idea about athleticism. The program teaches athleticism. And if you do those athletic movements 5 days in a row, and you guys have witnessed it with Ryan, with your own kids, because those athletic movements we have them do, they're not easy. And the first few times they do them, they don't look right. But now they've done them 10, 15, 20 times. They're mastering them. That means they're mastering movements on the field. And they just become better players. And again, for me, it's about them having more fun so they keep playing, because we don't want kids quitting the game.
Yeah, that's right. Baseball is a sport. There's a lot of skills and a lot to learn, and it's very repetitious. But again, being able to, for you and the likes of you, to teach these kids these fundamental skills that, you know, they do every day and work on every day is so important at that age.
He's Nathan Fuzzy. He's got Harry Fuzzy. And I can see Fuzzy, you and I working out a really good program for young Harry in the next few years, the one that fits him the best, where he can thrive and work on getting better. But also it's about the education. Over the years, I've helped a lot of Aussies go over to America to play college baseball with the dream that they're going to play pro ball. A lot of them didn't get a chance to play pro ball, but the ones that went through college, they're all back here doing really well for themselves in some capacity. I always tell people I don't count anyone out because I don't know who's going to do the work. But here in Australia, if you take the mentality that you developed in college over there back here, you can become the prime minister of this country.
Yeah, that's right, mate. It's exciting, not only for Harry, but for every kid, mate. Those who want to work hard, they can do it. And now there's a clear pathway. And, mate, having you as a mentor, and Harry's had some great mentors along the journey. And, mate, it's very exciting for him and every other kid in the sport at the moment.
Fuzzy, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot Down Under podcast, live from Sylvania. Not Waters, just Sylvania. If I say Waters, my roommate is a little offended. It's Sylvania. We're not pretentious like those people in the Waters. We're going to go to a break, and we'll have Ryan Castillo when we return. He's also a vice president of the Cronulla Sutherland Junior Baseball Association right here on the Sandlot.
Hey, this is Mark Dollymore here, representative of Cronulla Baseball back in the day. Proud member to be on the Sandlot Baseball show today. I hope you enjoyed what you heard and just live on it. Keep going on, keep trying hard, all the best.
I think I'll go on and walk about, find out what it's all about. And that ain't hard.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG. Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
Imagine your family enjoying a stunning new pool without the stress or nightmare stories you've heard about bad builders. At Freestyle Pool Sydney, every project is expertly managed from start to finish by brothers Ben and Rob Hitchcock, a family business of 33 years. They return your calls, quote the whole job up front, and plan for the unexpected so there's no hidden costs or unfinished work. Their skilled tradies are experts in their field, delivering a premium finish your family will be proud of. Call Freestyle Pool Sydney today on 9875-1122. Freestyle Pools, family values, exceptional craftsmanship.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
Hey everybody, this is Trevor Hoffman, a Hall of Famer and a San Diego Padre, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome back to the Sandlot podcast Down Under. It's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. We also have Vice President of the Cronulla Sutherland Junior Baseball Association, another Vice President, Mr. Ryan Castillo. Ryan, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot Down Under podcast.
Thanks for having me, mate.
93 is when I arrived to Cronulla to do this job. I was hired by Ken Harris and Baseball Inc. Baseball Inc. was a new identity for the Cronulla Association because you had juniors, you had seniors, you had park ball, And everybody was kind of divided. And it didn't make a lot of sense when you're approaching councils to try to get things done on a facility level or on a getting lights for a facility level or on just having a bigger say in the community. When you have three voices, it's not quite as loud as one voice. That was probably one of the best things they did because it united everyone and it gave everyone a chance to participate in the development of the sport.
Yeah, it was a really good change to the way the system had been set up in the past, actually.
And at the time, it gave them the ability to bring in somebody to try to turn them around because at the senior level, the club was not very strong. The juniors was a decent level. I think they had around 500 juniors at the time. There was 12 clubs, but the clubs weren't huge, right? They were pretty small clubs. And after seeing 1 year of what could be, I convinced the board of directors from this Baseball Inc. to give me a 5-year deal because I couldn't see me being able to do it in a year or 2 years. Give me another 5 after the first. When they did that, then I could start making plans on how to really structure it. And part of that structure was getting into the schools. And back then, we had a little office at the Cronulla Bowling Club. And it was like a closet with a desk and a phone. And back then you had a phone book. I just pull out the phone book, and it was a rotary dial that we had in there. It wasn't a fancy phone. And I would call the school and ask for the headmaster. And a lot of times they'd say, hold on one moment, and they'd pass me on. And I would just explain what I was here doing and that I would like to come into their school and run a program. And they all were for it. It took 5 years to get to all of them, but in 5 years, I went to every primary school in all of the Cronulla Sutherland Shire. And at that point, we had Endeavour just started up as not baseball, but a sporting high school with baseball included as one of the sports. And we were able to even get a high school competition going between Endeavour and I think 5 other high schools. So we had a baseball competition for high school, which I don't think had ever been done before.
Yeah, it was a real sweet spot in the sport. When you came over because we just rode that little bump in the ABL and then you got involved in the school system. And I remember those days because I actually started my baseball journey, if you want to talk about it, on the softball side. That's where I played T-ball. And it was those early days with the Braves and then the Blue Jays, which made me want to change over to baseball. And then when I changed over, there was already this groundswell of this guy, Tad, roaming around doing all the camps. And that's where I met you. And that's actually how I got my nickname. You gave me the nickname Riser at one of the camps and it's just stuck.
Well, how about that? One of the things I learned is that Aussies have nicknames. So the president of the Junior Association, I named Ryno because very first camp I had him in, he was wearing a Sandberg shirt. And I was like, how does a kid from Australia have a Cubs Ryan Sandberg shirt? I was working for the Cubs at the time, and it was just strange to me. And it turned out that kid had spent some time in Chicago, and his family followed the Cubs. And the next thing you know, Mike Turner was going to be a guy that was going to come through the program just like you.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it now is we've got a whole bunch of guys back involved in the juniors who came through your system. And you float around the clubs and you see all those guys. Like you got Mike, president of the association, I'm the vice president. Fuzzy was involved with you. And then you bounce around the clubs and you see guys like Joel Short, Andrew Marr, Craig Bunker, Rob Hayes-Conway, all these guys that came through with the system that you built up, and now we're all giving back. And I think that's the best part about it.
Well, and it's really cool for me because it shows you the longevity of what we've been doing and also how everything comes full circle if you stay in it long enough, right? And now for me, I had you guys in my camps when you were kids, and now your kids are in my camps. And I got to tell you, that's one of the coolest things to me. Not only that it's still possible, but I can still physically pull it off because I am 60 now. So to be honest, some days I don't know how I'm doing it.
Yeah, I actually got to experience the 3 levels with you. So I did the camps as a kid, then I got to play with you at the grade club, and now I'm showing up to camps with my boys, and soon-to-be girls will be coming through now too. And I get them to experience the same thing I did with you, which is the best part.
And yeah, again, for me, when somebody shows up at a camp and they're wearing a glove that looks like it's from the 90s and there's a signature of mine on it, I'm going, where'd you get that glove? And the kid goes, my dad came to your camp in 1993. Well, that kid is now in my camp, and that kid has improved so much by coming to the camp. And again, Ryan, that's my biggest joy. Spending enough time with the kids to where I know that I've made a difference. They've gotten better. Now they're having fun because this game isn't necessarily fun if you're not good at it. It's a difficult game. And when you're good at it, you got to expect a high level of failure.
Yeah, and that's the part I try to do the best with the kids is it is a technical game to learn. And if you can't, accept the fact that it's a lot of skill you need to learn to get good at it and therefore enjoy it, you've got to learn to take those bad. And that's my big thing is making sure the kids understand that you do have a bad day, you do have a bad at-bat, you might have a bad pitching outing, but it's not the end of the game. That's the push, is to understand that it is a tough game. Like we always joke about, if you hit 300 for a career, that's good. There's not many sports where, if you succeed 30% of the time and it's considered a good career. And that's always the joke in the sport. But that's the hardest part to get across to the kids. Some days you're just not going to get a hit. And then some days you might get 3 or 4 and you just got to ride that.
It's a game of failure. And what it does is build character, because how you handle failure in baseball is going to reflect on how you handle failures in life, because we don't always succeed in life either. We're going to have subjects in school that we struggle with. There's going to be times in our life where we have to deal with very difficult situations. We might fail. This is teaching us how to fail with grace. And again, that is one thing that is hard to stress with kids, because they always want to do everything and have success doing it.
Yeah, you could say there's a lot to learn from a late January baseball game down at Tonkin in 40-degree heat going 0 for 4. You learn a lot about yourself on days like that, and I think that hardens you up for other things.
Yeah, and if you can play this game and not let the failures affect you, you're going to be that much better in your job. You're going to be that much better with your family. You're going to be that much better in your day-to-day operation of your life.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Now, let's talk about your teams that you admired as a kid and what made you switch from softball to baseball. That really, the passion for it, where did that come from? Because you had a brother playing too. And so at that point, you had to make a decision between softball and baseball. How did you do that?
Yeah, so like I said, it was around that time when the Braves, I don't know if it was the first World Series, but it was definitely the first World Series I remember watching as a kid. And I go back to the softball, and it was similar, but it wasn't the same. It was a little bit different. So I remember asking my parents, because I used to play all year round, softball in summer and winter. So I asked Mum and Dad if I could switch over and give baseball a go. So it just happened to be there used to be a junior winter baseball competition in the Sutherland Shire, so that made sense. So I switched over and I started playing with, it was just Illawong at the time, but what became Marlins Baseball Club out of Illawong. And from there, I just had a really good experience. I got a really good first T-ball coach, John Mead, who's become a family friend. He instilled the love of the game in total into me, and then had a really good experience down at Illawong, which then flowed on and made me stick with it, and eventually led to switching over to play with Bonnet Bay Beavers for the Sydney Metro Cup, which was the competition that was Sydney-wide but for junior clubs. And I got to play with probably one of the best junior teams I'd ever been a part of. I think we had 3 New South Wales players, we had a couple of Australian players in the one team, and that was just a little junior club side out of Bonnet Bay, and it was a great experience, and then that just built from there.
On some of those guys that you're mentioning right now, I know one of them is Stephen Evans.
Yeah, definitely.
Tony Considine. Stephen Evans, to me, was one of the best kids that ever came out of Cronulla baseball, and he never played for the grade club, which I always thought was a crying shame, and it was because of politics. But now this dude is like a marathon runner. I'd like to see him on a baseball field today, Stephen. So if you get this, if you hear this, man, come on back to baseball.
Yeah, well, everyone knows, obviously, Tom Evans locally, because the great Tom Evans, the field named after him, and Steve was Tom's son. Getting to play with guys like, I'd be at third base, and I had Steve Evans for half the game to my left at shortstop, and then he'd go on to pitch, and Davey McGraw had come into shortstop, and we had Nick Butler behind the plate, Willie Peters at centre field, Chuck Vaughan Cooper at first base, Nick Pontifex, Mike Fanning. Like, it was just an incredible junior side to be a part of, and that whole side just flowed into State Cup, then we flowed into the grade club, and I spent 20 years down at the grade club just from that love that was built up of the sport.
Now, you mentioned the Braves and the World Series that year. How old were you? Because that was like 98 maybe when the Braves won.
Yeah, my first World Series I can remember watching, I think, was the 91 series. So I was 11. But it really took off when the Blue Jays went back-to-back. For some reason, whether it was the Canadian connection with Australia or I don't know, but the Blue Jays just took off for a supporter base in Australia. And watching them go back-to-back when you're 12 or 13, just a huge, inspiration to keep following the game. After that, I sort of bounced around. I enjoyed watching a bunch of clubs. I'm more of a player watcher. I really, really got into it when the Maguires, the Sosas, the Giambis, that era, the big home run hitting era came through, and it just flowed from that. I just love watching individual players play. Supported Blue Jays. My wife's Canadian, spent some time living there, so that became part of my life. But I just love watching individual players do their thing, like Mike Trout when he was at his height, and at the moment, Ohtani, Stanton's probably my favourite player at the moment. I just love watching the guys hit the long ball.
How cool is it for you to have Toronto back in it? Because 92, 93, they went back-to-back. Joe Carter hit that home run off of Mitch Williams that just broke the hearts of every Phillies fan, and he became an icon forever in Canada. And one of the cool things about having a team from Canada in MLB, the whole country of Canada is pulling for Toronto right now, whereas 29 other teams hate the Dodgers. They hope they lose. But that whole country right now, it's like 40 million people going, come on, Blue Jays, let's knock over it's like David and Goliath right now.
And that's the beauty of having that one team in that country. I mean, it was always good when the Expos were around, but I've got friends in Vancouver to Toronto into Ottawa, and everyone, the whole place is alive with baseball just because of the Blue Jays. And I think that's going to be fantastic for baseball in Canada.
And also uniting Eastern and Western Canadians, because I got to tell you, they're two different sets of people and they don't like each other necessarily.
Yeah, it's normally like that.
So he's Ryan Castillo, and he is involved in baseball since he's just a little kid, really. And now he is a vice president of the Cronulla Sutherland Junior Baseball Association. Fuzzy does the coaching side. What's your role over there with Cronulla Sutherland Junior Baseball?
Yeah, so Fuzz is technically known as the senior vice president. So his role is as a head coach and coordinating a lot of the high performance elite level. I actually prefer to deal at the club level. I've got a lot of good relationships with around most of the association. The joke is I've played for most of the teams at some stage, but I've got friends in pretty much every club. So when things need to be done, discussions need to be had, I think that's where I come in. That's where my experience helps, and I like just dealing at club level. That's my favourite part.
Well, the fact that you and Mike and Fuzz are involved is the reason I'm back here, and I just want to thank you for making the effort, because I know that you had to sell the idea to the rest of the association because not everybody knew the history. But I think now we've gone through and been with we've been with every club at least twice, and I'm on my third round with every club. So we'll have done 36 of these club camps in just this 8-week trip. So I think that we've left a mark that's indelible, and that kids especially want me to come back and work with them. And I just hope that they realize that the camp is where we can get the most value out of making them better. And if they have time during that holiday, they need to get to the camps.
Yeah, and that was the discussion, because, we'd had a big break without you out here, and we pretty much had a whole generation go through not knowing who you were. So when the first discussions came up about really beefing up junior development from the ground up, your name was obviously thrown straight in with myself, Mike, and Fuzz. And we just kept saying to the clubs, just give it a chance, just see what he does. Because I had that privilege of going through a junior system that had already been set up by you at the top. And due to the Baseball Inc. with Ken Rhodes and those guys, that filtered down through that we were actually doing what you would consider TAD programs at the State Cup, and when I was with the Beavers with Tom running things the way he ran it, we were doing your systems in place without realising it was your system. And then that first training session, I remember showing up to the grade club, and it all made sense. And that was the beauty. We were brought through it, and then when we showed up to that, what was the elite level in the area, that's what we were doing. And I think that's what made Cronulla good. You'd show up to training, there were stations, there was, I remember the old cinder block attached to the stick, and you had to wheel the cinder block up. You go home and your forearms felt like cement after those workouts. And then Petey Munro with his sit-up routines. And if you stopped halfway, he'd be into you. You have to finish that, and running foul poles and doing all that stuff. That was just Tuesday, Thursday, Tonkin Oval. We were doing it. Saturday morning, hit him. We were doing it. And then you'd come out Sunday and you were ready to go.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that really made us good, is that people bought into the training, and we trained hard. I think we probably trained harder than any other club. And we'd go until everybody got enough reps. And a lot of times it was past when any lights were helping us, and we were in the dark usually doing our running.
Yeah, and it was the hardest I'd ever trained, and it made a massive difference to the guys' baseball. And it made a difference for who was there too, because you were bringing in the structures, but you had Pete Munro, and I probably had more to do with Dave over the years. And Dave was that guy where you showed up to training, you knew you had to train. Pushed you hard, but he was fair. He did everything with you, so you couldn't sit there and say he wasn't doing it. But he was just the kind of guy that, in another generation, he would have been one of the blokes leading the charge on a battlefield, and he would have had 10,000 guys running through a wall for him. And that's just the way Dave was, and that was the system we had down at the grade club, and it was just such a great time to be a part of it. Like 20 years, I saw a lot of change, but that first 5 or 6 years when you guys were still all around, that was the best.
That just made me feel like Dave is William Wallace. He's William Wallace. That's the way he would charge forward.
Very good explanation of the way Dave was, because he created that atmosphere that you had to perform, not because he demanded it, but because he just made you feel like you wanted to. And I've never had an experience with a guy like Dave Munro. Heart of gold, tough as nails, but could drive anyone to run through a brick wall for him, and they'd do it, and then they'd thank him for it after.
He's the vice president of the Cronulla-Sutherland Junior Baseball Association, in charge of the clubs. Ryan, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot podcast, Down Under.
Thanks for having me, Ted.
We are the Giants Baseball Club in Turn Point, New South Wales, Australia. We are part of the CSJBA, and we love baseball and listen to the Sandlot.
Do you want more than just wins for your kids? Do you want confidence, character, and grit? At Grit Sports Collective, we help young athletes play with purpose and train with passion. With elite coaching in baseball and basketball, we're building more than skills, we're building competitors. Because greatness starts with mindset and is earned through sweat. Grit Sports Collective. Play fierce, train harder. Now enrolling in San Diego, California. Visit gritsportscollective.com and sign up today. Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG. Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
Imagine your family enjoying a stunning new pool without the stress or nightmare stories you've heard about bad builders. At Freestyle Pools Sydney, every project is expertly managed from start to finish by brothers Ben and Rob Hitchcock, a family business of 33 years. They return your calls, quote the whole job up front, and plan for the unexpected so there's no hidden costs or unfinished work. Their skilled tradies are experts in their field, delivering a premium finish your family will be proud of. Call Freestyle Pools Sydney today on 9875-1122. Freestyle Pools, family values, exceptional craftsmanship.
It was pretty much decided for me to play baseball when I was born.
The Sandlot's where it all starts, doesn't it?
I wasn't big than everybody. I just threw harder.
It doesn't take any talent to hustle.
If you don't pull for the Dodgers, there's a good chance you may not get into heaven.
Something happening here.
We're back on the Sandlot, this time with the president of the Cronulla-Sutherland Baseball Association, Mike Turner. Mike, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
No problem at all, Tad. Thanks for having me.
And, of course, it's the Sandlot Down Under podcast, a different version of Sandlot Radio. And we've had two of your counterparts on the CSJBA Board of Directors for this show as well. We've had two co-vice presidents, one Nathan Fuzz and one Ryan Castillo. And the two of them have different roles within the association, and you're the president. But let's turn back the clock to the days when I very first met you. And even before that, you're an Aussie that got introduced to baseball in an area that I grew up in, Chicagoland. And so therefore, you ended up being a Cub fan. So I'm doing this camp. It's one of the very first ones I've ever done in Cronulla down at Tonkin. This is in 1993. And Mr. Turner shows up, all eyes and ears and ready to listen, watch, and learn. And I got to tell you, back then, you were one of the best students of the game that I knew.
Well, thanks, Tad. I've had a great introduction to baseball. It was 1992. I was 8 years old, and my dad was asked to do some study over in Chicago. I'm one of four boys. So mum, dad, the four boys all travelled to Chicago, lived over Rogers Park in the suburb of Chicago, and that was my introduction to baseball. Went to school there. A couple of the guys in the class invited me to play in their local team, so I was hooked. And then an 8-year-old mum and dad took us all to Wrigley Field to watch the Cubbies, and that was it. That became my, some would say, obsession. Brought my Ryno shirt as a little 8-year-old, and then, wouldn't you know, wore it to your first camp, because I came back. We were only there in 92, came back in 93 and met you, and from there our relationship has gone for, 30-something years. Little Ryno used to always call me, because your greatest asset, that is the way that you remember every kid's name, no matter what. So I don't know how you do it, but you know every kid's name, and no matter when you saw me, it was always little Ryno. So yeah, it made me feel pretty special.
Well, and again, when you do these camps, you have a lot of kids, and some kids are zeroing in on the instruction. Some they're not quite ready emotionally, mature level wise to pay attention for a period of time that's going to benefit them, but you were zeroing in, and it has a lot to do with the fact that you come from a family of educators where we're supposed to listen when somebody smarter than us on a subject is speaking. And so therefore you figured that out at a really young age, and it helped you. And I got to tell you, you were a guy that, because of getting the instruction at a young age, you developed a really nice skill set, so that you were able to, the fundamentals were there for you. And that's what kept you in the game. Because once you have the fundamentals down and you make plays and you get hits and you know what to do on the bases, the game becomes a lot more fun.
That's right. Definitely not much of an athlete, but I could always be trusted not to make an error, and I thank you for that, because it is those fundamentals. I've got 2 older brothers that were cricketers, so I was the first one that started playing baseball all those years ago. So it was a different type of skill set, but from chasing my brothers around the backyard with cricket bat to me chasing them around with the baseball bat and teaching them how to hit a full toss and play a real sport in baseball, it was a very fun upbringing.
Well, another really cool thing for me is, because I've been in this for so long, I see a guy at a camp when he's 8 and I give him the nickname Ryno, and it stuck with you for a while there for sure. But Ryza told me that the Ryza nickname I gave to him in camp way back in the day, and he's still called Ryza. And so it's kind of cool. But the other thing is to see you guys grow up, raise families, and become successful. For instance, you're the principal of a school, and Ryza has his own business. So it's really a cool thing for me to say. And I believe that the foundation of baseball also gives us a better chance in life to be successful.
Absolutely. And it's the friendships you make along the way as well. I don't think there's anything more special than a before and after game shed where you're talking about life and you're growing up together and the highs and lows. And now we've all calmed down a little bit and we've got families, but we're still really close friends. You spoke about Fuzz and Rise, really good friends with them. We're hopefully doing some good things in the junior area. I'm still great mates with Pete and Dave Munro, who I've heard you talk about quite a bit. And it's given me so many opportunities, the sport. It's friendships. It's, always there for each other. And it's really fun playing good hard ball and doing it the right way, and now teaching it to our kids that are coming through. It's a full circle, and you're still there. You're at the center of all of it, Tad.
Well, what's crazy is having you in camp at 8 and then having young Artie, your son, in camp at 8, 9, 10, 11. It's been really cool for me to see that. And, Riza's kids are in my camp, and Andrew Marr's kids are in my camp, and Shorty's kids are in my camp. So to have all of you stay in the game for that long, that makes me feel like we did something right back in the day, because you're all still involved.
That's right. And we all love it just as much. Artie I don't know if he realises yet how blessed he is. It was 5 years ago where he was going to start playing T-ball, and I asked our good friend Pete Munro, where should I take him? And he said, bring it down to my local Comets and I'll coach him. So Artie will run through a wall and then idolises you at your camp. So very, very blessed, and he loves it. He loves the sport, and the cycle continues.
Pete has been coaching those kids for 5 years. They stayed together. I've watched them over 3 years develop into a really, really a team that works together, has fun together, because as soon as they're done, they're just being little boys that are having fun. So they get serious when it counts, but when it's all said and done, they're just mates, and they're having a blast together, and they're doing things that make them happy. And, we had a conversation with the young Artie about the importance of school, because he wasn't enjoying school that much. And we had a very important conversation about that, because he needed to hear it from somebody other than you and his mother, that this is a really, really important thing. And that there's got to be a couple of those subjects that he can find interesting and really become good at. And then the other ones, just be efficient at. It's kind of like in baseball. We have 5 physical skills that we have to be somewhat good at. It's running, throwing, fielding, hitting, and power hitting. We can't be great at all of them. We can be efficient at all of them. And then we can certainly be really good at a couple.
Yeah, and I think I was relaying that story to my parents. She spoke earlier about them being educators. My mum was a teacher librarian for all her career, and my dad was a high school principal, started 2 schools. And I said that you were back and Artie had seen you, and they said he must be happy. I said, yeah, the first thing Tad said to him was, how's school? And dragged him out of that funk because, you know, he wants to go be outside, he wants to play. He's a bright little boy, so he can get a little bit bored. So first conversation you had, I don't have any problems with him anymore, Tad. So it's over to you now. You're teaching me baseball and parenting skills all in one.
Well, that's part of our champs program. As you know, we have this thing. And one of the kids off of Pete and your team that has been with you for a long time is our Sandlot Champ of the Week, sponsored by Guzman and Gomez. Guzman E. Gomez. And those guys, it's little Finn Stevens. I've chosen him as the champ of the week because I've watched him develop and I've watched him go through some ups and downs because he's, you know, first time I saw him, I think he was 8 or 9 and lefty, but it's a mindset thing with that kid. He's very athletic and he's come so far, but it's the coachability part, the honor, because the kid's got such a good attitude, but we had a conversation about him realizing that outs are meant to happen, and then he needs to realize that he's going to be one of those outs several times in his life, and just take it with a grain of salt. It's part of the game. You're meant to be one of those outs.
Yeah, he's a little champion, Finn. He soaks in the knowledge. You can see it. You know the kids when their eyes are fixed on you when you're talking and they're learning, and then they make that self-adjustment. He's doing that at a very young age. He's a very good player, and he's going to go very, very far because he learns. And he soaks it in, and he listens to Pete and you, and then makes that adjustment. So, wonderful kid.
Well, because of you, the president of the CSJBA, and my 2 mates that are vice presidents, Ryan Castillo and Nathan Fuzz, and also, of course, Pete and his influence around here, I'm back because you guys know what we did way back in the day. There's a need for it again, and we've started with a program that I think over time will have a huge influence. And I've seen it just with a number of kids that are those kids that zero in and pay attention, the amount of improvement that can happen in a short period of time. And the key is to get the kids that are really keen to come to the 5-day camp, because that's when they end up doing everything, like I said, efficiently. And then they're good at a couple of them. And that's all we can expect. Be efficient, the tools, be really good at a couple.
Yeah, and that's the key, and that's what we were hoping. And you can see the difference travelling around to the local clubs this year. The feedback is just tremendous. We've got parents and kids. I've seen them go running to you, but the presidents and the delegates are telling me that the love's there and the learning's there, and that's what we want. If that's happening, kids are outside and running around, and it is, you know, difficult time in society. It's very easy to stay indoors on your phone or on a laptop or an iPad, but we want to get kids out and about and playing and learning the game the right way. So that's our aim. It's a really strong community that we're building. You know, Cronulla Junior Baseball, one of, if not the biggest association in Australia, with 1,300 members, 130 odd teams this year. So it's a wonderful thing you're doing, and we're pretty proud of it.
Well, I want to thank you guys for getting me back over here. It brings me a lot of joy to see kids get better. That's kind of what I think I was put here for. You know, you can play the game for so long, but when you can teach it, you can continue to have the joy. And it's a game that's meant to be fun, and I want kids to have fun. So that's my goal here, and hopefully we can get that done. Mr. Turner, he started out at 8-year-old as Ryno, but now he's Principal Turner. I want to thank you and the president of the CSJBA. I want to thank you so much for being a guest on the Sandlot Downunder podcast.
Tad, always a pleasure. Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Go to work. Thanks again to our resident baseball fanatic and producer Nick Wright for walking us through the highlights of the Dodgers and Blue Jays through 5 games of the 2025 World Series. Also, a special thanks to 3 board members of the Cronulla Sutherland Junior Baseball Association, the CSJBA. We had Nathan Fuzz, Ryan Castillo, and Mike Turner. And we had our Guzman E. Gomez Champion Character of the Week from the Como Comets Little League Division I team, Finn Stevens. You can listen to the Sandlot podcast every Sunday on Sirius XM Radio MLB podcast platform, also on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and Simplecast. Also check out Sandlot Radio Network Facebook and Instagram pages for video content with the players. And the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website for reels and photos from our long history of covering everything from the Sandlot to the big leagues. The Sandlot is presented by Terramar Collective and sponsored by Grit Sports Collective, Guzman E. Gomez, GYG, the best Mexican food in Australia, and by Freestyle Pool Sydney. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Damn it! Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
Is this heaven?
It's Iowa. Is there a heaven?
Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true.
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
I'd like that.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG.
Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
Imagine your family enjoying a stunning new pool without the stress or nightmare stories you've heard about bad builders. At Freestyle Pool Sydney, every project is expertly managed from start to finish by brothers Ben and Rob Hitchcock, a family business of 33 years. They return your calls, quote the whole job up front, and plan for the unexpected so there's no hidden costs or unfinished work. Their skilled tradies are experts in their field, delivering a premium finish your family will be proud of. Call Freestyle Pool Sydney today on 9875-1122. Freestyle Pools, family values, exceptional craftsmanship.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.